Here.
Scott,
Here.
Sean,
Here. Here.
and Tony.
All right, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is review and approve the minutes of our meeting in December.
Second.
Any discussion?
It was Scott and then it was Timothy.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Any discussion? Seeing as how, well, okay, you can call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Tim,
Here.
Scott, Vincent, Sean, sorry.
Present.
All right, passes. Next order of business is discussion on the review of issues to present to the town board to update and clarify the code law. If I can just round back before we open that up on the suggested actions that were taken. A lot of that was taken care of, the expiration dates were updated. All that was presented, everything on there was presented, but nothing's happened in the last 8 months, so.
You mean by presented?
A letter, which you have in front of you and was sent to you for your review, was sent to the supervisor on in January of '26, where we went through and talked about everything, and I listed everything according to state law. And that's really what we're gonna do tonight, is go through this again, and I'd like more input if you have any, or any suggestions that you might have to include. One of the problems that the town faces is we continue, I think I bring it up at every board meeting, that the code law does not comply with state law for the duties of the planning board or the zoning board of appeal, but it never seems to make any headway anywhere. That's part of the problem with getting things done in the town. And if you read the state law, the code officer has a lot more authority than our town law states. Like basically if he says, Tim, I can't approve your request, it automatically goes to the ZBA. It doesn't go to the town board for an assessment, or to the planning board. So there's a lot of confusion in our code law. The document I sent you spells a lot of it out, and I've never heard anything about it. I thought it was sent to the lawyer, but he's busy probably with other stuff. So I'm willing to open up discussion on this and like go around the room, or if you guys have any ideas or anything in the code law that you'd like to see addressed that we can write down and add to another document plus what we have, I'm happy to do that.
I haven't had a chance to go back and look at that, whatever, but you said based on the authority, because we're a residential and agricultural, that's why most of this stuff should go from the code officer to us, correct?
Correct.
Because of the variances.
Exactly. Anything that's not residential or agricultural requires a variance. So he just has to say no and send him the form to us, have him fill out the form and send it to us.
And that's state law.
That's state law.
Right. I thought that we brought that up, or we learned that was, what, 2 summers ago with the attorney from the state. And he said
That's right.
that you a town like yours shouldn't even have a
Planning board.
planning board. It's redundant for the the
Yeah.
people that live there.
Yeah, and the same thing happened during the training this last, was it May?
May, June, yeah.
May or June? Yeah. A couple months ago, the same thing, so, you know, it's like, if you go to the town board meetings or you watch them, I bring it up every board meeting, but,
Now, I've been trying to find where you can watch them.
well,
The Sullivanville Neighborhood Group, I think.
Facebook page?
Yeah,
or-
it's a Facebook page, and they usually have they might have it live, or you can get it after the fact. I don't know if they're archived, but they're there for a while.
Is it just called the Sullivanville Group?
Sullivanville Neighborhood Group, I believe.
Permission to speak. What determines having a planning board? I mean, I'm sure there's been one here for a long time, but, for instance, a lot of these smaller communities, agricultural and residential, don't even have a planning board. It's strictly ZBA. The board and ZBA themselves with code,
yeah.
you know? So, I guess my question is, how long has it been a veteran, I guess, since, I mean, I've been here since 2007, so you know,
Before that,
yeah.
and it's
So,
been here
I
a
mean-
while. Tony, how long's it been here? You've been here longer than me,
Well, ever since I've been here too, you know, there's been both.
so since 1920.
You know, I think this town is fortunate in the sense that there are people stepping up who are willing to, serve on the committees. And, in towns where they don't have a planning board and you have to have a ZBA if you have zoning law, it's because they can't find enough people to do it. Although one of the discrepancies that I've pointed out before is that I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the town law states that someone who's on the planning board cannot also be on the ZBA and vice versa, but that's not state law. State law suggests that one person can serve on both. So again, you know, I don't know if that's something that the town might look at, if they got to the point where they need applicants.
Yeah, and one of the things we did a year or so ago is when there was an opening on the planning board, there was someone on the ZBA that wanted to move up, who'd been on the ZBA for a while, and we did that. And I've always said, I'll move someone from the ZBA up to the planning board because they have more experience usually, and you don't have to retrain them, especially if they've been through training. And that's worked twice. But you're right, we've been through the training now for 2 years in a row where they've told us, you don't need a planning board.
Permission to speak? So, to give you an example, like a perfect town that would want a planning board and ZBA would be a town like Big Flats, where there's a lot of construction going on all the time, or the city of Corning.
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, they suggested that kind of took some of the, I don't know, the weight off the ZBA, and they could review it and then pass it down. And they could.
I understand, there's a lot more going on, a
Yeah,
lot more.
where you get
growth.
where you have agriculture, stuff like that, you're not gonna have the growth, you're not
Yeah.
gonna need that. And then all it really does is, like me as a resident, it confuses me.
That's,
Cause I go to do something and, you know, perfect example was the garage that we had, she didn't know what to do. She had no idea, there was, you know, and it just makes it one more step, and it makes it more of a costly step for the person.
I guess that's what I was trying to get at, cause it's confusing
Yeah.
for
it's
myself, since I've been in here, you don't have the growth, you don't have the revenue, you don't have the expansion, so is much happening?
No, and it takes, person goes to the zoning board, and then they take their time, they go there like, oh, well, I got to the ZBA, and they're not gonna meet for a couple more weeks, so the project or whatever they got going on just keeps getting pushed back, and that's costly, you know, especially if you line up contractors, they're not gonna wait around for you.
And the thing to remember, And that's what I tried to address in this document that I sent you to review. The state law is pretty clear on what the planning board does and what the ZBA does. Our town law confuses that. Because things that the ZBA should have been doing all along, the town board ended up doing. And it usurps the authority of the code officer.
You know, I would say it's not just the law, and I'd have to really see it in front of me to be sure, but it's the implementation that's the issue. And I think we all know this for a fact. There have been occasions where the code officer, as we said, if someone brings a request for a permit to the code officer, he either approves it and it goes forward without any further examination other than his, continuing to observe the process, or he rejects it, in which case it's over unless the applicant decides to appeal that decision, and that appeal goes to the ZBA. It doesn't go to the town board, doesn't go to the planning board.
Agreed.
It doesn't go back to the code officer to make some kind of arrangement.
Yeah.
And so it's execution of how things are done.
And a lot of the confusion is that the town code law was rewritten in 2014.
2021,
Was it 2021?
zoning.
Yeah, zoning law, the zoning law and the code was rewritten.
Mhm.
So what happened was, it just confused, the way they wrote it, just confused everything even more, which is something Tony's talking about, the implementation. It puts everybody in a position where it might not agree with the state law that everybody's been trained in, but they have to implement based on what the town law is. And that's what's causing a lot of problems.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but after going to the training on May and getting this info from there, and then you bringing it out, is pretty self-explanatory.
You would think.
So obviously, to me, it's within our town, it's making it more difficult or complicating for people in the public to understand it.
Agreed.
Or how to approach it, how to go about it to make an appeal or something.
Some people don't wanna change, they don't like change, and I think that's what we're running into. You put it in front of them, this is the way it should be, this is, well, we've always done it this way, we're gonna continue to do it this way. And that's why I've always asked, whenever a code enforcement officer, delete or says, no, you can't do it, give the ZBA a heads up, let's look at it. Instead of them.
And the
Not
way this.
unless the applicant asks for that.
Right.
The applicant
Even-
might back off and just say, okay, well, I'm not gonna do it,
Well, then-
because it was denied.
Yeah, then it's done.
But I don't think we go after them.
No.
They have to come.
It just kind of,
Should be the
front
public.
knowledge.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I don't know, I guess.
and then we could research it and see, what's going on, what can we do? And then it's easier and a faster meeting when they do come to the ZBA, they say, hey, listen, okay, well, this is what we think we can do.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right.
Instead of like, he says, dragging it out, well, we'll have to get more information and we'll see you next one.
Well, but that's part of the process. If someone gets denied a permit and the applicant comes to the ZBA and says, I want a hearing on this, then obviously we go and look and see what's going on. We don't have to, meet only on a certain Monday of the month. We can set up ad hoc meetings to facilitate things. But when someone comes and presents, and then we can try to see if we can find some way to satisfy the applicant as well as satisfying our obligations to the code. And, so, a lot of times, and I've been on this, 35 years. A lot of times, we were able to do that in one meeting and get some kind of a resolution, that people could go out with it and they're happy with it and whatever. But I think if you look at the law, you don't have to make a decision, at that meeting. I think you have actually 60 days
Yeah.
to think about that. No, you don't wanna just use that arbitrarily, but if you had to get some more information,
There's a
then you could
60-day
do it.
limit for the board to take action and make a decision, because, like Tony said, we have to find out information, we have to have a public hearing sometimes, so, and that, you're supposed to schedule that 30 days out, so you can advertise it and get everything done, and get all the information out.
Well, the public hearing would be, when the people come to make their case. That's a public hearing.
No, once they make their case and present, after we look at everything, we can say, okay, we got the information, we're gonna have a public hearing now, and we can tell everybody there's gonna be a public hearing.
Well, I mean, that isn't the way it has been done.
And that's a point
Because-
we've all brought up.
Because when the applicant makes their, their concern known, and they wanna present this, then that's, they pay their fee, and we get it published, we get neighbors notified,
Right.
and that's your meeting.
It's up to the person to notify the neighbors, if I remember correctly.
It's up to,
The person with the application has to
No.
verify that they notified the neighbors.
no, they don't have to. Really,
I
the
checked.
code officer should be notifying them.
Yeah. But to your point, okay, and a good example where we ran into a lot of confusion was with, the project on
Ridge Road?
Ridge Road. Yeah. Because they went to the planning board first. First, code officer said, no, you can't do it, and then they went to the planning board. And I got involved, I said, no, it's not you, it's me, it's ZBA. And they were like, okay. And at that point, okay, what we should have done was an application should be given to us, we should have been ready for them to come in and talk to us. Listen to what she said, and then all the other information that you're referring to should have been out by Ken and everybody else. And then we have a public hearing for all the neighbors and everybody else to come in to tell us what they thought. It's not just the people asking for the permit.
Well, in that case, the only, connection that we had to that, was the front variance.
That's what we
That's
did.
all.
We had both, and somehow went back to the planning board.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other
Should
part of
never-
it was not up to us. The other part of it was not up to us. It was too close to the road. That
She-
was for the ZBA
Right,
to
that's all,
decide.
that's the only application she had, she didn't fill out the other application
That's
for
right.
the.
She
the
didn't fill out
variance.
the other application for us.
Right.
Everything she did should have been ZBA. None of it should have been
Right.
planning board. Because it's not agricultural, and it's not residential.
Yeah.
Well,
wanted
it was
to-
a special use, isn't that right?
It's still not agricultural, and it's not residential.
But if you look at what it's, even the state law said, special use is the planning board.
No,
You know,
ZBA,
No. Area variances and use variances.
it's more than that. Because it's a conditional use and a special use, and it's not residential,
See,
and it's not agricultural.
that's where the law gets confusing, in terms of special use, conditional use. The ZBA is about variances.
It's more than
if
variance.
she wanted to take a farm land and turn it into a commercial property, that's ZBA,
Yeah.
that's pretty basic.
Whatever, that case is done.
But that's an example of the confusion because of how our law is written.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, so someone like myself is new to the board and that, and learning. But after going to the training and things, it just throws me off that it should be a simple process. If I'm a homeowner and I'm wanting to do something like that, code denies me, I come down, I fill out a form that I wanna appeal this, it should automatically go to the ZBA, for instance. They should look at it at a meeting, look at it, go through it, come up with what questions or whatever we may have, and then from there, have a public hearing about it,
Mhm.
let them come to the board and present it.
That's what should have happened.
That, to me, I'm just a simple kind of guy, acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That's just how I see it, because most people are gonna look at this and be like, man, it's confusing, you know, where if the procedure's just laid out there, and we follow the procedure, they would know the procedure.
Well, we had spoken in the past to hit on that, of having some kind of application checklist for them.
Correct.
Somewhere I got a bunch of ones from
I brought that up.
Yeah, well, I got a bunch from different towns and villages, how they set up their ZBAs.
Okay.
Like where they would get the paperwork, this is the application, they would have checklists. And there's questions on there that the ZBA, I can't remember, I think I printed them out, I don't know if I gave them to anybody, but there's some really good examples of, like a checklist for a,
Requirements, step of
People can look at
requirements.
this and go, oh, this is what I need to do, oh, this is how I have to do it. The night that we did Ridge Road and the one in Erin, those people had no clue what they were doing.
Out on Vargo Road.
Yeah, they had no clue.
I was at that meeting, that's what, I guess.
And that's why I tried
said.
explaining to them what
Yeah.
what the role is.
Well, that's what the code officer should be doing, you know?
Well, it'd be
And,
nice
and
if we had that
actually,
checklist.
actually, we've had,
Mr. Ezra, those are just some kind of,
Okay.
it's been said, that the code officer in cases has actually been filling out forms for the residents.
yeah, he should
Now,
do
that's,
that.
it's very nice to try to help people, but that shouldn't be the way it's done. I just wanna, read something, that I picked up, at the, Corning Community College, presentations. This is, I'm sure, maybe all of the members that were there have one. Zoning Board of Appeals overview from the New York State Department of State Division of Local Government Services. And here's where the confusion's been. For example, on page 2, number 3, in order to appear in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals, an individual needs, A, to have the zoning enforcement officer deny them a permit, okay? Another option, to have the zoning enforcement officer cite them with a violation. Another, to apply directly to apply directly to the ZBA for an area variance in connection with an application for a site plan, special use permit, or subdivision plat approval. Now, see, that third one, that's what you're saying, special use permit, a subdivision plat approval, those are things the planning board does
It
in this
says
town.
a variance for those.
I know, but that's what, the planning board does that in the town law. We don't do subdivisions. But see, the New York State
Well,
is saying,
They didn't ask for a subdivision.
He's just making a point.
No, he's
no,
making a
I'm not
point,
talking
yeah.
about that one in particular.
Okay.
I'm talking in general, this is
Okay.
what it's saying. People who have an issue can come to the ZBA.
Yeah. And they should. And they're never sent to us.
But that's asking for, it's asking for an exception to the rule. That's what the ZBA does. Basically.
Exactly, and there's plenty that went on that confused everybody. I mean, Mr. Benjamin is well-known in the community, everybody knows him. He stopped me at Wegmans and talked to me for 30 minutes about it, and again at the et cetera store in Jubilee Plaza, and spent 15 minutes telling me what was wrong. And I couldn't disagree with him. And even now, has she had any events there?
No,
When I drove by,
there's
coming
construction.
down here, they seem to have started some work.
Yeah, it looked that way to me. when I was
So,
Yeah.
it's been a year, And what's the
Well,
rule if you don't have an event in a year?
Hopefully, no, they have to start work within a year. And so if the permit was given,
I don't know.
I don't know when the permit was given, but they've started work now, so they should be okay. It can also be extended if they come and ask for
Yeah,
an
they come
extension.
after permission.
Yeah.
All right, so
But you know, like the bottom line of this, Vinnie, you know, this is the same agenda we had in December. The agenda we got for tonight.
I know.
It's the exact same agenda. So we've already done it, we've talked it to death. And I think the suggested actions that you have in this, in the minutes for the, December meeting, the suggested actions are, I think, what we ought to focus on, rather than a specific language or something, and the lawyers have to work out or whatever. To say, you know, job descriptions should be rewritten and made clear, in others, in terms of planning board, ZBA, code officer.
Well, that's all in this.
Yeah, but I'm saying, as he said, keep it simple, let them do the work, let them do the wording instead of force feeding it. Expiration dates, should be changed so that people are rotated and people aren't coming off at the same time. Planning board roles should be reevaluated. And ultimately, town board decides, we don't decide, but let them at least look at it. The email addresses, no, I think it happened once or twice, that I actually got emails that said, here are the planning board minutes for the last meeting. But most of the time I don't get them.
Are you getting them now?
No, not directly. I can see them, you know, I get, because I think because I've signed up to that,
Well, you can write down your email address, or I can confirm it with you. I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
you have it. It's just my name, Anthony J. Pucci,
You should be getting it then.
I think I get text.
If you're signed up for the website, you'll get them.
That's right, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about board members getting the minutes, both ways. Not just because we signed up to the website.
Okay, so part of the problem there is, luckily, because we have one secretary for both boards, she can have that and send that to us.
I sent you August, July, June. Probably as soon as this meeting, I was at this meeting, December meeting, I was asked to, so it should be all the minutes from there. But if you're missing any, let me know.
Yeah,
And the other problem is, and I think you had a problem with it, who else? Was it John?
Yeah.
When I use the scanner to scan information to all of you, two of you got them, two of you didn't. And that's why I said, check your,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
your spam,
It wasn't.
but it doesn't come addressed to you. And that's what confused everybody.
That's what confused me, and I didn't see anything abnormal in my spam, but after you resent it and you told me it was just the letters and numbers and,
Yeah,
I went through and it wasn't my spam, it was on my.
it was on your regular email.
Yeah, regular email.
We just erased it because you're like, yeah, that's,
No, I didn't, no.
So-
I just-
that's a virus, I don't want that.
Yeah, and your point's well taken, because the problem with it is we don't have a server here.
Mhm.
We're still somewhere in the 1990s, where we only have 6 or 7 computers, and they're all assigned to an individual. So even as the ZBA guy, I don't have a computer that I can go work on or access anything. I get emails to my regular email, and I think I've got an official email, but I have to come here and check it. Or I can download the Gmail for the town to my phone. One of the things I've brought up to the board is that we need to invest the money in servers and modernize, because even Jenny should have an official email so she can come here anytime, sign in on a computer and do all the work, or do it from home.
Are you working on your own computer?
Yeah, this is my computer that I bought from the store.
Yeah.
From
But
Walmart.
the problem, Tony, is there's not an official site. She can file stuff and post stuff.
Mhm.
So we need a server to do all that.
Yeah.
And it's the same problem you brought up. If we had a server, we could post and keep and archive all our meetings that are streamed or recorded and posted on the server, and you can look them all. And you know, you've worked with servers before, I have, you probably have. We don't have that luxury here in the town, and that's another big problem for everybody. Because even I can't post any of this. If I went home and wrote this, I can't post it. I've gotta come here to go on a computer, and even as a deputy clerk, I don't have my own sign-in on a computer. I have to sign in as a clerk, because we don't have a server,
Yeah,
so.
well,
But no, and you know, you bring up a good point, job descriptions. I think that job descriptions are pretty defined. Expiration dates are listed everywhere, and I've talked to a supervisor about that, and they're listed in,
5 years.
yeah, 5 years, one person changes every year. And their things change. The planning board's roles should be evaluated. Well, if we don't, first, get them to like, go by what New York says they're supposed to do, how can you evaluate?
I mean, the attorney should just take what the state says and put it in the village,
The town,
the town, sorry, it used to be that works.
yeah.
I mean, the town, codes.
Yeah.
I mean, most places, other places you look, it's just exactly what the state says, period.
And that's
just
it.
copy and paste.
And, you know, I've sat down with Ken and said, what was the lawyer thinking when he redid these? And made it so confusing for everyone. And he said, I don't know. And that, so we're kind of, again, with the document, trying to define those things that are in there, and you know, you're right, the town board has to make a decision what they wanna do.
yeah, I think this document, I understand what you're doing, but I think it limits the focus just to these things. But I think if they were to look at the totality, they might find more discrepancies and more inconsistencies.
That's why I've asked everybody to give me more information.
Yeah, but we're not lawyers.
You don't have to be a lawyer. You can go through, just like I did, and look at the state code from all the training we've had, and look at our code,
Yeah,
and say, okay, this doesn't look right, how do we fix it? What's the state say?
That's, real quick, going to that training, and after years of coming to the meetings now for a couple of years, was board meetings, and there've been a couple of these for the public. This explained it going to that training more, and it seemed for the public and myself coming to these meetings, it seemed more confusing how we were doing it. Where after going to the training, it was pretty much, it is what it is. I mean, it stated it, and whose responsibility is what, how it works as far as code enforcement, and then if something's shut down, they file an appeal, it goes to the ZBA reviews it, they appeal, and then has a meeting, and then, that, I guess that's what.
The online training
Yeah.
spells it out.
Yeah,
It does.
exactly, after doing the online and then going to the
Oh.
corning there for the, leadership.
So
Is that something we have to do every year, the online training?
No, well, it depends on what it is.
Like, okay, the ZBA training it is.
we have to do 4 hours every year.
Yeah.
And for now, we got that work violence and sexual
I
harassment.
did that through the county too.
Yeah, we do that through work too.
I didn't get to it because I was busy. So I
But
don't know what they're gonna do about that one.
To go back to that meeting that we had, when we had the two applicants, the folks that were connected to that garage
Yeah.
situation, they found out that same day that the meeting was that night. And so if there was confusion, it wasn't on our part. We probably looked bad, but we were set up to fail.
Well, the code officer did screw that up. And he was talked to about it.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
going
so
back
am I.
to that,
I'll
you know,
clear the air on it, and I'll tell you that he was talked to about that. And it's interesting, that once those people found out the requirements that the county was gonna put into play, they pulled their application.
Well, the other part of it was, and again, we don't have to spend too much time on it, but they were within 500 feet of another municipality,
Yeah.
which again is something that when the application was made, the code officer should have said, you need to do this, you need to do.
Agreed, he
you
was
need to
talked to
do
about
that."
all that,
Well, so that's why we looked bad that day.
everybody looked bad,
Yeah, I was here for that meeting.
and he didn't come that night,
You were lucky.
No, he didn't,
and that's why he didn't come on down.
and most of the time, code officer comes to the meetings to explain why he denied the permit.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so, here's what I'm gonna recommend, this has been a great
I
discussion.
do have one other thing,
Okay, go
you and I
ahead.
talked about it, but, on the application, and we found out by the Ridge Road, application, it says, I think in our code, it says you have to talk to just the neighbors attached.
That's right.
We were looking at that, and I actually spoke to other towns, and they had said that they do it by a radius.
Mhm.
Cause like on Ridge Road, it was all family members that touched it. And I'll be honest, with you, I've been talked to by 5 different people on Ridge Road that now found out that that's going in, and they're upset about it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I know you live up 5 houses up the road, but that's 2 miles. And they don't want the drinking and the people driving up and down the road, and I'm like, all I can tell you is go talk to your board members. Go scream at the board, or file a lawsuit. I
Well,
don't know
again,
what to tell you.
the zoning board of appeals only gave the variance to the frontage
Yeah,
to get permission to actually convert that to the facility that they want. That was the planning board.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I
So you have
explained
nothing
that.
to answer for.
No.
Yeah.
I explained that, and they were very upset that they weren't
Right.
contacted. I said, well, our laws state this.
Scott, I'm glad you brought that up, because what I'll do is, I'll go back through and look for the radius, and I'll recommend a change and update this.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes more sense when you live out in the country, instead of just being,
Okay.
I mean, the lawyer gave an example, the ZBA denied, I can't remember, it was something to do, and it was on a mountain, but the noise level, because of the way it was designed,
Yeah,
they actually denied it, even though it was like 5 miles away, because the people on the opposite mountain could hear all the noise. And I was like, wow, like that's a pretty far reach, but
yeah.
Sometimes not in the country.
no.
So Scott brought up something for me to go look at and include in this. What else? Anybody got anything else? If we don't give the board something hard to find,
I can't remember what our code says, if, there was a discussion earlier, if we contact those people, or if it's up to the people, like the application. So, for example, the garage, she had to contact surrounding neighbors.
Right.
She had applicants.
I'm just saying, I don't know, I can't remember.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
If
sure
it's a town or
It
village.
should be
the
the,
town does it through the code officer, and it sends out registered mail. Because he just sent a bunch out today.
to me, that causes conflict
I
anyhow.
don't
Think
remember
about it,
anybody
that-
getting any of it.
well, I mean, a landowner wanting to do something, going to their neighbor.
Yeah, I'm
and
not gonna deny
neighbors-
my neighbor, like, okay, yeah, I know I probably would.
Exactly, cause I mean, solar panel or solar field,
Yeah.
you know, so, yeah, that should definitely be code.
So, why don't you look that up,
Think
give me the comments, and send them to me.
Look up, what would you like me to look up?
What we just talked about, the radius, neighbors,
And notification, I
And
think there's something in notification.
You want me to look up ours, or do you want me to look up other agencies?
no, I want you to look up what ours is and a recommended change. Attach that to Mr. McGee.
Cause I think it involves so much time too, the notification or,
well, see,
If
that's
you're
what I'm
canvassing-
talking about when you have a ZBA meeting, is a public hearing. that when they're making that notification saying, hey, you know, your neighbor's planning to do this, and here's when the meeting is, if you wanna say something, you come to that meeting.
Yeah, I think
See, that's what the notification is for, is to say, there's gonna be a meeting, there's gonna be a public hearing about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there is something about notification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah, but
It's
the
in
public
book.
hearing is the ZBA meeting.
Not every ZBA meeting is a public hearing. An application could be made at a meeting, discussed with the board,
Yeah,
and the public hearing's at the next meeting.
So that'd probably be best.
that's what I see, cause otherwise, stuff happens like what happened up on Vargo Road, you just, I mean, you don't have it together, and it's,
Yeah, so, Tony, why don't you look that up? And give me the information on it, so I could put it, an update to this document.
You mean the,
Meetings,
public hearing,
public hearings,
okay.
because, yeah, it's, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that would just make people come twice for the same thing.
well, here's the thing. When someone comes in to submit an application and talk to us, no notifications have to go out, nothing has to be said. And, a hearing notice is after that.
That would imply we have to meet twice for everything.
Exactly.
Well, all I can say is, in the 30-something years, that's not the way we did it.
Well, okay, and that goes back to what
And,
someone said
and
earlier.
no one ever said we were not doing things according to
Well,
Hoyle's,
Tony,
you know?
I appreciate what you're saying, and I understand completely. But even at the beginning of this meeting earlier, we said that part of the problem was people are just used to doing stuff the same way,
Oh, I understand that.
and never looking at how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, but I have looked at it. I mean, you know, and there've been, like, before you, like numerous chairmen of this committee over the years
Agreed?
who have successfully, you know, dealt with, you know, numerous applications over the years. We've hardly done anything, as you know, in the last 5 or 6 years. But we used to have meetings almost every month, sometimes two in one meeting.
Yeah, and when they rewrote everything, was when it changed.
Well, I'll look to see if I can find anything definitive.
Okay. All right, so I expect something from Tony, something from Scott. What else?
real quick.
Go.
Full-time code officer. I
don't have a
brought it
problem
up
with
at the
that.
board before the board meeting, or I've talked about shared services, since they share equipment and help and everything else for townships. You know, with Town of Erin, Veteran, and Catlin and that, maybe, working with other code officers to provide more of an established full-time.
I'm in total agreement with you. As a matter of fact, I brought that up today to the code officer, because I've got some phone calls from people that are very upset, and all that seems to be cared about is mowing lawns. And other stuff just goes by the wayside. He did explain to me that there's issues with summonses that he gives out, and court dates and everything else. And we've been a part of it in the past. The house on Smith Road, the dump there on the left-hand side when you turn off, go,
Up 14.
yeah. I can tell you that that guy pulled every stunt in the book for 3 years, and he never did a thing. It was so bad that when he cleaned the place up, he took all of it and dumped it at another place in Erin. And then got all the stuff in Erin and brought it back here and dumped it. And I only know that because I was working at the county at the time. I was told to go look at it. So, yeah, it's a problem.
Well, I understand, I know you got a lot on his plate, but if anything, I thought
Agreed.
of shared services or something, just with working.
Okay, so do you understand how shared services are supposed to work?
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so shared services several years ago at the county level was very organized, and when towns and villages did shared services for the first time and were successful at it, they could submit a payment to the state and be reimbursed for the first year, but they had to keep doing it.
Mhm.
And all the towns and villages, for the most part, were doing it. There was even a deal set up with the county was very involved with it, where if the town of Veteran did some work for the county,
Yes.
they would get credit for it at the county level, and the county would come out and do some work for the town of Veteran. And they wouldn't have to exchange money.
Yeah.
That all went away 5 years ago. I don't know why, but it did. Because it's a great system, it worked really well. Towns are doing it individually now.
That's what I'm getting, I know the towns do it individually, just because where I work at, whether it's
Yeah, and
a
the
trade-off in personnel
It's a-
work.
it's a trade-off.
Yes.
it's a little less organized, and it's a little less organized in the sense of insurance and other stuff, so. And the state's not paying attention to what we're doing, because we're not doing it the way they want. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Anything else?
On another topic,
Depends, what's the topic?
well, can we go to new business? Because this is nothing to do with what we've been discussing.
All right, is there any more discussion on the town board update on the code? Motion closed. Vote.
So Tim motion to close, and Scott second. Anthony,
Yes.
Tim, Scott, Sean,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yes.
Okay. All right, new business. Motion open.
Yeah, good. This, I found this interesting. In the, I guess it was the July town board meeting, the code enforcement officer report. The last, there's a lot of that, mowing the lawn and all that stuff. The last item, it says 1748 New York State Route 13. I don't know where that is specifically. Built a garage over a neighboring property. The survey is completed and they're working on a resolution. Now, my question would be, how did they get a permit to build a garage over a neighboring property?
They did.
Then the next question would be, what's the penalty for doing something without a permit? Tear it down?
I'm not gonna disagree with you at all, and I agree with what you're saying, because I heard about it by accident. Because the owner of the garage that was overhanging the other people's property is a sheriff's deputy.
Doesn't matter.
To you and me, it doesn't matter, but apparently to some people it did matter. Initially, they were afraid to talk to him. I understand what you're saying.
Well, that's absolutely irrelevant. The law is the same for everybody. I think we know that from the national level all the way down to the town of Veteran. I don't care who it is. If they did something without a permit, the code officer has a responsibility to deal with it, not just to say, well, they're working it out. That's not right.
Tony, I had somebody that I worked with run into a situation with that. They did two things. The code officer went and said, you need to get a survey, we need to see how much is over your line. Then they went to the property owner where it was on, questioned him, and then they resolved that, okay, he's gonna pay me so much for that. He doesn't get it, he gets the use of it, and then the zoning or code enforcement officer fined him, and at that time it was double whatever the materials was, and it had to do with a decking. That's how they did it.
Mhm.
Whether that can be done in our town or not, I don't know, but that's what happened, so. He had to have it surveyed, he had to sign a thing that he couldn't claim it for property,
Mhm.
like your squatters.
Mhm.
The owner said okay, and then he was fined on top of it.
Mhm.
Okay, and I appreciate what you're saying,
Mhm.
and I will bring it up to the supervisor and to the code.
When they sell the property.
And please put it in the notes, just like you said, so that we can identify that we're aware of a problem that should have been resolved the right way.
Well, and I guess what you don't see, in the minutes here is any comment from the board, other than everybody accepted the report. I don't know, was there a discussion about that?
I
or
don't
you
remember
just-
any discussion about it. Do you remember any discussion about it?
There may have been. It's consistent. We had the same problem at Burn Catherine. They built a shed right on the road, and it's still there.
Take it down.
And from what I've been told, our laws are designed for people that pay attention to them, and if you ignore them, it's difficult to make them do anything.
It's fine, that's it.
There's a shack right next to Birch Hill Road, right up next to the road, and it's still there.
But I think there.
And I'm on the board, and I've been working on it,
But
guys.
there are things in the law, to deal with that. And the ZBA,
Just down the road from me.
when I read those things about what the ZBA is supposed to be able to do, if there's a violation, we can have a meeting and
For a
decide what to
contract.
do.
Yeah, agreed.
You're going
No,
north.
And one of the options is take it down.
Forward, or just-
Yeah.
I concur. That's what I told him to
In
do.
my observation of it, happens all the time, especially around the lakes. And what they do is that is definitely always the option, or have it ripped down. What they try to do is resolve the situation,
Of course.
whether that gentleman who went over the line buys so much of a variance
Yeah, it's like what you
and
said,
has
makes
it
it kind of a
redone. That's what they try to do, but usually they get a steep fine too,
Yeah.
without the homeowner having to rip it down, but it happens quite a bit.
Yeah, well, and the idea of following up on it is to discourage other people from thinking, I can just do this, I don't need a permit, and I don't care if it's somebody else's property, I'm just gonna do it, and they'll let me do it. That's why you have to address it, so that it doesn't proliferate in
Well,
other
the
people's.
town hasn't addressed that garbage dump place over there.
That's-
So
And
we're.
that's what's upsetting me.
I get you.
What you're talking becomes the real issue is when they go to sell their property.
Correct.
Banks won't even go back, yeah, we're not gonna.
Yeah, that's what.
That's
I'm
why
saying.
a lot of times I see them have to buy that property,
Or tear it
Buy.
down, that's when it gets.
or
torn down.
take it
They
down.
built this without a
And
permit?
like for you said he got it like he couldn't claim the property, but it was there. Now, like you said, that homeowner wants to sell that property.
Well, see, things have changed.
He's
Now,
got
this was,
stuff over somebody else's property.
I've been retired at 20, so it's probably been 30 years ago.
No.
Yeah, usually today, from what I see,
Yeah.
they have to purchase it, and the homeowner can name the price. Otherwise, the object or whatever it is
Has to be
ripped
removed.
down,
Yeah.
and plus they get fined.
Because they would have to put in the variance from the property line
In
to
other words,
whatever
if
the
that building
structure
was said to
was.
be 10 foot off the property line,
Yeah,
he's gotta
so-
buy another 10 foot of that
Yeah.
person's property all the way around that structure he put up.
Yeah.
So that's normally how it works,
Yeah.
or it comes
I
down.
mean, there are options that it can be done.
Yeah, I think they try to do that, but
Tony, anything else in new business?
No, thank you.
Any other new business?
The only other new business is the forms I gave you, maybe we should look at.
What I'll do, if it's okay with you,
I can't remember where I got all those, but I mean, you can just Google it, you'll probably. come
yeah,
up
what
with
I'll do
100
is,
different ones.
I'll look at them, and I'll show them to Ken to see if he has something similar, and then I'll work with him to make something for the town.
And maybe we should attach something that just actually explains what the ZBA's role is.
It should be included in the code law, all these things.
and they should be right in the, like you said, what our description is, should be on the front cover of that, and what requirements they have
That's
to
what those,
meet.
it's a checklist.
A checklist of what they have to meet, because if I show up down here and I wanna do something, I can look at that and already know, I
Yeah.
don't mean half that stuff, so
Yeah,
why am I gonna?
My other suggestion is, there was, you know, for even like a variance, there was 5 things that they had to actually meet. I can't remember exactly what they
Yeah.
were now, but if that was on there, when I explained it to each one of those people, they're like, I mean, they came, they wanted to do it because we used Kelly, for example, she wanted to do it so her family could have a, you know, a future income property, but if you look at those 5 steps, none of what she wanted met any of those. I tried to explain that to Roger, I'm like, if I would've had to vote on it, I'd have voted no, just so you know, that's why I stepped out, and we didn't vote on it.
Okay,
Well, the bottom line is, you know, when it says the hardship can't be self-created,
Right.
of course, it's, you know,
creative.
most of the time, that's what's
And
happening.
that gave a perfect example, one that wouldn't be is if they were doing, the planning board did a neighborhood, and then there was that, they used a pie-shaped piece
Yes.
that didn't meet the criteria to put a house on. At that point, we allowed that to be created, not the developer, so we could, as ZBA could say, you know what? That you didn't create that, we created that hardship when we
That was
designed your
actually,
street.
that
We
was
can
one of
allow
the,
this.
examples in the Corning.
Yeah.
That was actually that pie shape and,
Yep.
yep,
So that would be something that the landowner or the developer didn't create when he bought the property, we
Yep.
created it by, you know, putting a road
Dividing
a
it
certain
up.
way, yeah. Or if we change roads, it creates hardships.
I'll review these with Ken, and I'll include it in the updated letter, that it should be included as an appendix in the code law.
I just think it would be really
It'd be
nice for
very
people.
helpful. Agreed. Okay,
Well, you know, that would be the kind of thing to put on a website,
Yeah.
make it
It'd be
easily
wonderful, you
accessible,
just
download
print
the
it,
form.
yep.
yeah, no problem. Anything else, gentlemen?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thank you for everything.
when do you want the,
I don't know, what do you wanna give them to you, in a week, 2 weeks?
I don't know, at least 2 weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks.
I got school, but,
Yeah, no problem, 2 weeks,
Difficult.
2 weeks. 2 weeks would be like the 31st, no, yeah,
Are we gonna have a
31st,
meeting before that, or no?
no.
Alright, so let's,
And I will not be around,
I start the school at 8, so that gives you after that.
all right. Give those to everybody, you've got everybody's email.
No, I would like to